Welcome to Manna from Heaven with your girl Sharon Lee. I am so happy you are here today as I continue this series with Carla Poole. It is such an interesting discussion on Blacks working together with each other in the community and the stereotypes that need to be dismissed and admonished. I said in my opening broadcast that this interview is geared towards Black people, but honestly, it's meant for all people. So join in with me today and eat the manna. Chew on the manna, chew on the word, glean from it. Learn how we can all work together, grow together, and make our relationships with our community and our world a better place. So come on and eat. Come on and eat and join in with me. Come on, you can glean. There's a lot to glean here. Come on, come on.
Some
Mm-hmm,
people, some people still they talk about white supremacy, about being
mm-hmm,
anti,
mm-hmm,
but as Shakespeare says, methinks thou doth protest too much, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel like when I hear people, Black people, white people, Asian people, blah, blah, who blame white supremacy on everything,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Not saying it's not there.
Right.
Please don't say it. But when that's the scripture says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you are talking about white supremacy all the time, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, I start to think in my head, do you think white people are supreme? Like deeply in your heart is you because you keep thinking about you need to battle them instead of just being,
Yeah,
right?
right. Mm-hmm.
Instead of embracing who you are, you're always comparing yourself to them, the us versus them. Them over there, they did this, they did that. When do you stop and look inside and say, I'm worthy,
That's
I'm
exactly right.
great, apart from, right? I don't need to think about your existence to
Mhm.
know that I have a valued existence,
Right,
right?
that's right.
And
That's
and so this wording, oh, only Black people don't, everybody else does. That hearing that slogan, that language over and over again perpetuates this idea of less
yeah.
than.
And it weakens
Inherent,
you.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and I and so and unless once you've experienced other cultures, you're like, wait a minute, they're struggling with this too.
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and some of a lot of people struggle, and that's what I kind of tried to contextualize my video as. America has a value system
Mm-hmm.
that I think is the core problem of what we're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
We have a value system whose foundation, since as a person of faith, right, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about what your foundation is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Americans value system is based on individualism
Mm-hmm.
and capitalism. That's the foundation of everything that we built on. So what
Mm-hmm.
happens is, with any racial group, if a lot of Italians start to come over, if a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Russians start to come over, if a lot of Laotians start to come over, and they start to live in community somewhere in the United States of America, give them one generation, two generations, they
Mm-hmm.
stop working together. It starts becoming about me, what I could do, who I am, what I'm
Isn't
able to
that
do,
how we
right?
were born
I'm
into
pulling
sin?
up my bootstrap.
That's our sin nature. That's how we
Yeah,
are, regardless of what race. Don't you say? What do you say?
exactly. Yeah, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
racial thing. And I
Right.
think I think our culture has taught us that you're rewarded for that behavior, right? So think about, I'll use law school, right? So
Mm-hmm.
most law schools, thank God opened doors for me to go to a law school that didn't really have this culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have never survived law school if I was in the traditional law school
No,
culture,
you wouldn't have.
right? But the traditional law school culture is, hey, we've accepted you, all of you guys in here, you all took taken the LSAT,
Mm-hmm.
and so you clearly are intelligent enough to get a
Mm-hmm.
particular score that we've let you in. So
Mm-hmm.
now the way that we're going to grade you is not on the quality of your work by
Mm-hmm.
itself, but how your work compares to everybody else's work, right? So it
Really?
breeds, yeah. So you're in competition with your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just did you
Carla,
make the
just
right.
because you're black?
No. This is law school culture.
Oh,
Right.
okay, cultural
Yeah,
period.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
It has nothing to
Mhm.
do with race, right?
Okay,
So
got it. Thank you.
the culture is compete with your classmates. Don't just get the right answer, but you got to get the right answer and say it better than the way your
Mm-hmm.
classmates say it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your ranking is coming from, because you could do it better than them.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that do? People cheat, right? They steal people's notes because they want them to fail,
Mm-hmm.
right? They let's be in a study group together. They get all the person to, and then they leave information out that they knew the person missed, so that they can tank that person's grade, right? And people will say, well, they're just capitalizing on their resources. No, you're tanking a fellow human, right? And so what I'm saying is, like, because this culture is, I think it's accepted in the United States. It's like we're okay with individualism, right? And I think in some other nations, part of the reason they don't have some of the problems that we have, they may be spiritual beings, they may have religion as a part of their culture, blah 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 blah, but we love, we value in the United States the ability to consume as much as you can, to take it. It's sort of like this by any means necessary. Like, think about the types of movies that come out of the US versus some other country. Right? It's always like the one guy who was the leader in the group, and he goes in and he changes everything, right? But as an individual, right? And even if he's in the group, he's the standout in his team, that they could have not done it without him. Think about our sports. It's a sports team, but we focus on the individual in the team, right? We idolize that, like the Chicago Bulls, right? Yes, Michael Jordan, amazing basketball player, but he couldn't get to a tournament without a team. He needed everybody. So you can put down Scottie Pippen, you can put down everybody else and say, no, it's Jordan. Jordan was nobody. If he was passing the ball just to him, right? He wouldn't have had a ring. But what we do is we've made people think that it's comfortable and it's good to do it on your own. So this gets back to our point. Black folks will say, wow, I see a problem, I want to fix it. They'll have a great idea. And you're like, did you research and see if anybody else is doing something similar? Nah, I'm gonna do it. Right? This is one of the things that we're struggling with, right? Other cultures have trouble with this as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But what Black people, when Black people are saying this, and they're saying it from a negative perspective, they're saying, why can't we come together? Right? And I'm saying we can, but we do also have to address the fears that is causing us not to work together. Let's talk about it, but let's not stop at this generalization that only Black people. That statement, only Black people, is absolutely false. We are not the only ones that do this, right? And the other example I gave was like in Philadelphia, there's a high percentage of Puerto Ricans in Philadelphia. All Puerto Ricans aren't looking out for each other. Right? We call Black on Black crime, right? But when a Hispanic kills another Hispanic,
you don't call Hispanic on Hispanic.
Right. We don't, when an Asian kills another Asian, we don't call it Asian on Asian. We don't say Korean on Korean. We don't say Vietnamese on Vietnamese.
Or white people on white people.
Correct. I was about to get that. That was we don't do that, but we'll do Black on Black because it perpetuates the idea of less, right? And so, yes, white supremacy was the catalyst that got us here. Colonialism is the premise that got us here. Capitalism, capitalizing without limitations, right? I understand using resources to your advantage, but are you using resources to your advantage without considering the consequences or to others? If you're not weighing all of those things, then you are harming somebody, because we're human beings. We're all interconnected. We're connected to nature. We're connected. We can't exist without these things. So if you're not weighing those costs as well, it's selfish and it's self-absorbed, right? And it's very individualistic. So, but these are these things that we in our culture have been told are okay, we encourage, and that's why we get a lot of the negative things that are happening. So, but let's start a different narrative. Let's think about this, right? We're family, right? The thing, we start off with a family unit, right? And now, generally, historically, Black folks, if as soon as you get close, what we do, pull them in. You family too, right? You the
Yes.
cousin, you the person down the block, but we grew up
Yes.
together, right?
We'll call you aunt in a minute, aunt and uncle.
You're gonna become an aunt, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Hawaii, right? Polynesian culture, they call people auntie, uncle.
Right.
And many different, so Filipinos do it as well. Many other cultures, right? We don't know you, but we're gonna call you aunt. We're gonna call you an uncle. We're gonna show you that sign of respect. And then when you start getting closer and closer, oh, that's my brother.
Right.
Oh, that's my sister. We as a culture, think about it. Black people, Black Americans in particular, we speak in the language of we.
Yeah.
But we've been convinced that we can't work together. We talk
that makes no sense. Absolutely.
It makes no sense. Exactly. We see a Black person on the news getting arrested. Oh, look at us.
Yeah.
Look at my brother. You know, when you're a teacher, I can say for me, when I used to be a school teacher, those kids to me were my kids. I didn't have any children, but they belonged to me, right? I looked after them. I cared for them. I parented them when their parents weren't there because I loved them, because they were a part. That's our culture. But we're convinced to work against our culture, that we are the only people that can't do us stuff. But we do us stuff.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. 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 And you know what? I want to add to this is something you reminded me of. But I remember when we had the store in upstate Pennsylvania, before we had the store, let me back up a little bit. When Herbie and I were getting married, and I would talk to people on the phone calling to try to get an apartment with. They didn't know I was Black on the phone, and then when I would go, they would say it's taken. Suddenly, they happened.
Right.
It was like, what was taken? It was just taken. It was like I just talked to you on the phone. Oh well, it's taken. And so I can remember going in our pastor's office at the time, and I was so frustrated. It was like, we're getting married in a couple months, and we have no place. You know, the whole thing. And he said, please stop, Sharon, stop. He said, you're fighting. And I'm bringing this in here because I hear believers saying what you just said. Because my community is mainly, I deal with unsaved people. Don't say I'm just around Christian people, but mainly I am. That's who I fellowship with a lot. And I hear them saying what you're saying. So that's why I want to address that.
Sure.
And I remember Stanley said to us, he said, Sharon, please stop. He said, because your fight is not against flesh and blood. He said, whatever you want. He said, you go into the presence of God. He said, and you receive it, because the enemy cannot stop what God has for you. He can't stop it. Then I'm not saying we don't vote, we don't do natural stuff, we don't do stuff, but we have to go with the mindset of winning, not with this defeated. I can't do it. Black people never win. Black people never stick together. But we can't go in with that defeated. And the other reason I did the children's book on diversity, because I thought the younger kids are to recognize, you know, what God ordained me to be like this for a reason, and I'm empowered. I'm not I'm not less because I'm lighter or because I'm darker or because I'm, I want to fight knowing that I can win this. Because if we go into a battle, if our soldiers go into a battle and they're like, oh, we're not going to win this war. We're not going to win the war. And we think Black people don't stick together. Guess what? Black people aren't going to stick together. I mean, we have the same way we will take the word of God. And I'm saying this to Christians out there. We will take the word of God and we will fight, for other things, but we won't fight for this and say, wait a minute, this is a lie, because this is not what God says. It's not, Black people aren't the only people who don't stick together, because then we're saying that the gospel is only for a certain group of people and the gospel is for everybody. I don't want to go off on that tangent, but that's the point.
No. And I agree. So this is another way of thinking about it, and this is how I tend to think about it. So from a much more positive lens.
Yeah.
Let me use myself, and I'm going to sit up. So I never think now. So it's 2022.
I just want y'all to go out there. Let me pause for a little bit. This used to be my baby, and now she's grown, telling me what to do. But go ahead, Carla. It's good.
So if I'm a Black woman, right? And I am proud, like, if I died now and God said, I'm gonna send you back, which race you want to choose, I still would probably choose Black American. I might not live in America, but I would still choose. I like my history and the story that to
Yes.
where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Even the struggles,
Mm-hmm.
all the sum total of all of those things together has created something beautiful. Okay.
Right.
So I say that as, sort of a foundational point. I rarely think about white supremacy. I know that this is a big topic, and I do believe that white people should have those conversations amongst white people because it's new to them, right? For some people they've known, for others they blah blah blah. But if I was to give a message specifically to people of color, Black people, Native Americans, if you're on the West Side, probably West South, Hispanics, especially Mexicans, are not being treated in the most loveliest of ways, right? So if I was to send a message to them, I would say, stop thinking about white people. Stop thinking about them as a majority. Stop saying, well, they have, I don't have, so I want that thing, right? Because here's the thing. Just like most paintings, if a painting was all painted with just the paint color of white, you wouldn't see the painting on a white canvas, right? You need the diversity of those colors to create something beautiful.
You must have read that children's book.
I did.
Carly, go ahead.
And there's a beautiful song that makes me think of it every time. It's called by Gregory Porter, Painted on Canvases as well. So, but think of it from this perspective. Think about jazz, right? Jazz, blues, these things came out of Black people's struggle.
Right.
But jazz is a beautiful thing that like hits you in your person. Something really gorgeous came out of all of this history. And it's a combination of all of these different music styles, right? Especially when you get someone who was classically trained, right? Your European music, and they become a jazz artist. And when they start riffing, it's something so special with that.
It's not one-dimensional.
It's not. So what I often say is, to people of color, stop trying to get what white people have and just embrace who you are. Embrace your culture, embrace your people, embrace your experiences, even if your experiences don't fit the stereotype of your people. Because all together, if we actually started to work together, if we truly work together and we stop seeing people as us versus them, but Ubuntu, I am because you are, and you are because I am, that we are one. What would happen is when we walk into rooms together, the diversity of thought, we would say, is an opportunity for greater creativity. We're going to come up with better solutions. Like, you don't want a Black person in a boardroom so that you can just say that you're an equitable company, right? That we care about other races. No, you want the Black person into the boardroom who's had life experiences different from your life experiences to be in the boardroom with you, because they're going to come up with greater solutions to give you the whatever your outcome, whatever your mission, whatever your goal is, you're going to get there better from the diversity in the room. When everyone thinks alike, you don't have as many creative solutions. So I don't want you to token me, bring me in just because my skin color is Black. I want you to recognize that when you see my skin color, it's telling you that I have a story to tell that's different from you. And it's gonna and I can bring something to the table that is different from what you already have, and the difference together turns into something beautiful, right? Meat and potatoes, it's probably fine to feed you, but you add a little spice to it. Give you a little bit more flavor. Why do we like hot wings? You could just put salt and pepper on your wings, but you got salt and vinegar wings. It's funny to me that American supermarkets, we'll have 10 different brands of paper towels, right? It's all gonna do the same thing. Oh, we're more absorbent, we're less absorbent, blah 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 blah. This is a little bit harsher. That gives you, but you got 10 different versions of that. But then we want to be mad about people's different skin colors.
Right.
You obviously recognize that there is value in diversity. America has the opportunity to be the greatest nation on earth, but it is not, because you're maintaining an oligarchical political and economic system that maintains the wealth of the rich, the haves. I shouldn't just say the wealth of the haves, the influential, the powerful, who may happen to have money, right?
Right.
But they have, some people are rich in power and influence. They might not have anything in their bank account, but they can open doors like nobody else. And that's influence, that's power, right? We think that everybody needs to be the same there, right? And I'm saying I don't think that. I'm a Black person who really is like, yes, I want to work with Black people. I want us as a community to be in a better position than we've ever been before, right? But I do not want to do that in a way that we ignore the fact that other people are struggling too.
Yes.
Right.
You know, I did this. I'm not messing you up. Finish your sentence. I don't want
No,
to.
I was finished.
But you know, I thought of two things when you were talking. When we were up, when I was in upstate Pennsylvania, and I know the church that we went to at the time, and I keep saying the church because I'm bringing that in there. But I know the church we went to at the time, and they would say God doesn't see color. He doesn't see color, and I knew really. I mean, they sort of maybe meant well. God doesn't see color, but that sort of bothered me after a while, Carla. It bothered the heck out of me because it was like. And I had said to one of them, and I put it in the children's book too. I said, God who made a yellow sun and a blue sky and green grass and a black and white cow to eat that green grass, I think he knows color. I think he understands color. It would be better to say why, if you want to say why did God do it, that would be smarter than saying he's stupid and he didn't know he made color. He made color for a reason. And then the other part I wanted to say was when I was in Philadelphia, when I was living in Philadelphia, we used to hold these connect groups from the church. We went to Freedom Church, and it was downtown Philadelphia. So you had a whole group of a plethora of different races and different
right.
And so we would hold those groups in our house, and it was a whole bunch of different, and they were all women. It was a whole bunch of different races. I'm looking at this, a whole bunch of different races in our connect group. And so I can remember one class, Carla. I sat back in the chair and I said, I am so glad that I am Black. I said, not just that I'm Black, but I'm dark Black skin. And I opened my eyes, and it was like everybody was almost plastered up against the chair or the wall, wherever they were. And I said that for a reason. I said, I mean what I said exactly. I said, I enjoy being the shade that I am, and I enjoy being Black. I said, if you sat back in your chair and you just said, and this was a whole different array of different nationalities. I said, if you said exactly what I said and I got offended, I said, that's my problem. I said, because God specifically made you the way you are for a reason. I said, and we're all collectively in this room for a reason. We have something that we can glean from one another. We can learn from one another that I can't learn from my Black sister that I love. I can't learn about the Asian community from my Black sister.
And just like
white people can't learn about us from another white person. You can't.
You can't. That's exactly right. And listen, there are, I just bought some fruit. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was talking about how, growing up in Philadelphia, I know watermelon, I know, strawberries, apples, honeydew, the ones that you see in the supermarket, and that's normal, right? So I was frustrated because when, moving to Hawaii, I went to the supermarket. I was like, why? They had sort of boring fruits, but maybe, and sometimes a pineapple, right? But they had apples and bananas, and I'm like, I'm on an island.
You said sometimes a pineapple,
right? Where are these? And then I started going to the farmers markets, and I was introduced to fruits that I had never seen in my entire life. Like I've heard of a lychee drink, but I had never seen lychee the fruit, right? I just bought some lilikoi, which grows here. It's not going to grow in Philadelphia on the East Coast. And the point to me was, when I was talking to my nephew, I said, it's funny. The beauty of traveling is that you get exposed to things that you could have never even experienced just because of the location, right? And so people's cultures, a lot of them are developed because of their location and the things that they do there, but it adds something, right? It adds something to other people's experiences. Me when I lived in Japan, before moving to Japan, I talked too much, right? My voice was often loud, right? We're in Philly. are loud.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never realized how loud we are, but we're quite loud, right?
Yeah.
And I learned to appreciate silence
Mm-hmm.
because it's a very quiet culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have quiet train cars. And it was strange to me that it would be in the middle of rush hour, early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're on the train and no one's talking, right? And you walk down the street, and I learned to appreciate silence. And then I started thinking it's interesting to me that Buddhism, which talks a lot about silent meditation,
Yeah.
quietness, is China, Japan, Korea, in these
Mm-hmm.
Mongolia. So you're in these cultures, and all of those cultures are quieter cultures,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But Black folk, right? We in the
Yeah.
United States of America, somebody praying, yeah, yes, yes, yes. It's rarely quiet
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
Black church,
Right, right,
right?
right.
We don't do silence so well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But I've learned the beauty of both. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't experience silence until I went and I was deeply immersed into another culture. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't learn how to truly experience it. And it's funny because I watched different people worship. Growing up in church, especially when I was in college, I tried to do a racial reconciliation worship.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, college
Yeah.
campuses, they have all of those Christian groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that you could call it different Christian groups, but I said that's the white one, that's the Black one, that's the Asian one. Campus Crusade for Christ,
Yeah, yeah.
Disciples Indeed,
Mm-hmm.
and InterVarsity,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to all the leaders of the group and I said, why don't we do a worship service together? We may have cultural differences, but if we all serve the same Lord, why can't
Mm-hmm.
we come together and worship together? And I couldn't pull it off. I got such pushback. People don't like that type of worship. Like some people want to be quiet, Oh, we come to you, Heavenly Father. And then, right. So that's one culture. And then you have the other one is like, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, Jesus. And they're like, and other people are like, oh, I'm so offended by that.
Mm-hmm.
But why can't we look for what we can learn about God from the diversity?
Yeah.
What is he telling us about his person that he created? You say that, how can you be a Christian and say that you believe that God is the creator of all things, right? Everything originated from him.
Mm-hmm.
If everything originated from him, and I understand you're like, oh, but sin came in and blah, 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 blah. But you're telling me that all of these diversity of culture, all this diversity of color, God doesn't have a piece of himself in all of that? And by you deciding not to connect, maybe you're missing out on a
Mm-hmm.
part of God's personality that
Mm-hmm.
you can't touch until
Yes.
you touch that other culture.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today on Manna from Heaven. I hope you are enjoying this series discussions on Black people working together with each other in community and the stereotypes that need to be dismissed and admonished. I hope the food feeds your soul. If you love this series, you can watch it again and again on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Divinely Designed Women of Wisdom, DDWW, Divinely Designed Women of Wisdom. Here you will find and enjoy all of my broadcasts and podcasts. While checking out my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you next week. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you for joining me. See you again next week. Bye.